After our fall 2021 anime season preview, one of the series that I was most excited for was Taisho Otome Fairy Tale. This has all the makings of a show that'll kind of warm your heart to show this concept of somebody that's locked away and somebody that possibly can pull them out of it. And while my high expectations aren't really fulfilled with the first episode, I do see a lot of things here that has me excited for the future of this series. But this is my impressions on the first episode, so let's jump right into it. Taisho Otome Fairy Tale opens up in 1921 during the Taisho era. It follows Tamahiko, who is a part of the Shima family, which essentially is a family that is a noble family, and at some point he is in a car accident along with his mother. And to make matters worse, not only does he lose use of his dominant hand, as well as his mother, his father decides to exile him because he's disabled to the mountains of Chiba, where he'll live out the rest of his life in solitude. And upon arriving there, Tamahika basically gives up on his life. He has no worth. He's going to just basically be there and whittle away alone. At some point, a girl named Yuzuki arrives there to take care of him. As he kind of remembers, yes, his father said something to the effect that he's going to send somebody there to take care of him, either it be a maid or a bride. And it just so happens this is Yuzuki. Yuzuki was actually a bride that was bought by his father for, I think it was like $100. It's like 10,000 yen, in order to be his bride and take care of him for the rest of his life. And Tamahiko's kind of bothered by this. He just wants to be alone. He wants to just whittle away by himself. He keeps talking about the fact that every night he kind of just sits there and thinks about him not waking up the next morning, which kind of leads to him never getting any kind of sleep. And despite the fact that he keeps talking about the fact that he's just going to send away this girl because obviously she's burdened by coming there, and he's just going to whittle away anyways, she keeps pursuing him and keeps kind of helping him out with things, cleaning up things, taking care of him, washing his back because obviously he can't reach his own back because of his arm being disabled. And eventually one night when he's kind of up in the middle of the night, she comes in and makes him some nice warm milk and eventually starts singing a song that his mother actually used to sing to his sister. And following this, the two of them decide to turn in for the night, and she's like, well, do you want to sleep together? And of course he's obviously thinking, oh my gosh, she really wants to go that far already. But no, she brings in her bed and she's like, hey, I'm still 14. We're not married yet, because apparently they're talking about the age of consent being for marriage being 15 years old. And just so happens this ends up being the night that, for once, he actually gets to sleep. And thus begins this story. This seems to be the beginning of the whole thing, and we'll see where it goes from here. Like I said before, it's not as if this show blew me away with the first episode, but I will say there's a few things here that really has me excited. For one, it's obviously a very heartwarming story. There's this guy that's pretty much given up on everything. He's just been dealt a really terrible card. He's been disabled with his entire dominant hand. He's been exiled by his father, kicked out. It shows all these scenes with his entire family basically cursing him. Some of them saying that they wish the mother had lived and he had died. They just want to get rid of him. He's useless. He's got no use in his arm. He's just basically a cripple at this point. Get him out of here. So similar to things like Duke of Death and his maid, it's this aspect of somebody that's just been completely upheaved from life and thrown to the wayside and having no self-worth whatsoever. But then here comes this girl. And it's interesting because my immediate thought was the usual tropes. Okay, here it comes. This is going to be a girl that knew him when he was a boy and she really liked him, and then so she agreed to do this because she just wants to marry him anyways. What kind of connection are the two of these going to have? And there's no connection. That's the surprising thing. There's no connection here. It's not like she's sold on him immediately. It's not like she's coming there and like, man, I've always looked forward to marrying this guy and now I can. He just doesn't recognize me. No, what they did essentially, and it's interesting because the entire episode, it felt like that because she was so sold on him already. And I could just top it up with her being just kind of airheaded or something, which totally could have been the deal as well. So I kept drawing this conclusion of these obvious tropes, and none of them actually turned out. The reason why she was comfortable with him as it went along was because he made a good first impression on her. She came from a school where she was obviously, she was going to school. Everybody looked up to her. She used to fix things. Everybody said that she's going to be a great wife. And then she told the other students, I'm sorry, but I'm no longer going to be here. I've been married away. I've been sold by my parents. They sold me away because they had debts. And I've been sold to this guy. But I'm going to do well. I'm going to take care of him like I'm supposed to do. At this point, there's this element of insecurity, but acceptance of what's happened. She's going to make the best of it. But even still, she travels this long distance. She finally arrives at his house, and even still, it shows her being insecure about it. But the moment that she opens the door, he welcomes her in warmly. And as they walk along, he gives her his own coat. And this is enough that really ensures her that she's come to a place that she's safe. And that was all that she really needed. She had no choice back here. She's sold. Her parents sold her. That's just how it is. That time period, that's how that was. She could be sold off. She has zero say in it, but she had hope there. She was trying to be positive. The moment she arrives, she's ensured that she's in a place where she's safe, and that's all she could ask for. And so she keeps a positive nature beyond that point, that this is somebody that's going to take care of her at least. So like I said, the thing that has me excited here is that this isn't a pre-established love, which would be fine. If this was a pre-established love, it would be perfectly fine. I mean, we've seen that with Duke of Death and His Maid. That was an adorable series, and it's still continuing, thankfully. But this is an idea of taking something different where it's not an established, pre-established love, and instead it's like a insecurity, an assurance, and then a reassurance because you assured me. So him essentially welcoming her in warmly, she then takes care of him warmly, and eventually he breaks out of his shell because of that warmth. And so the two of them are slowly kind of assisting each other as they build a relationship. So we're going to see that relationship build up as it goes along. Now, how focused it's going to be on that romance, how focused it's going to be instead on comedy. Obviously, based on the OP, they're going to be going to school and everything. So how much focus it's going to be on all that other stuff, that's another question. But so far, the setup here is what has me excited and kind of reassured me that this is something that possibly could blossom into something very adorable. The visual style is very unique. So far, the animation is pretty solid. Everything looks good. I'm also curious of how much the Shima family was in his head. Because obviously, what we were portrayed was pretty nasty. I'm honestly feeling like the father isn't that bad. I mean, yes, technically exiling his son after his mother has died and he's disabled is traumatizing, but at the same time, could have been something in order to protect him. Because obviously he's taking care of his son. He's not just going to send his son away and not take care of him. He sent a wife, somebody to take care of him. So he obviously still cares for his son. Granted, I think it'd be more of a stain to him as if he were to send off his son and then his son just dies off somewhere alone. So obviously it might be in his best interest to take care of his son. But even still, like, everybody in his family was absolutely nasty. And so I'm curious to see what of that was just in his head and they weren't that nasty. Maybe eventually we will actually get to see the rest of the Shima family. But I'm sure that'll be an arc in its own, along with, like I said, possibly some school stuff, him kind of moving on with his life, and obviously the relationship between the two of them. And again, it seems like she's just going to be taking care of him for now until she's of the age to be married. It's funny because I almost forgot. I'm curious at what point they're going to reveal the other worry that Yuzuki has. Because he said that, you must be, prim, proper, taken care of girl. The way that her mannerisms were insinuates that she was a prim and proper girl. But she claims that she has two worries. And you're like, well, just two worries? And she's like, they're big worries to me. One is her hair, which because apparently it just gets frazzled if she lets it out of her braids. And that completely threw him off. He started laughing. She really liked that. But there was another worry. Now, I'm not sure if the worry was the fact that she came there and she wasn't sure of what she was going into, but she said the worry after she had already become comfortable with him. So the other worry has to be something else. So I'm curious how long they're going to take before they get into that worry. I kind of assumed the worry was going to be him because she's worried for him. She wants him to be happy. She wants him to be healthy, and he's obviously in a very bad place. But again, it also could be just their relationship. The worry could be their relationship, that she does the proper job of being a wife and take care of him. So I'll be curious to see how long they take before they reveal that other worry, because it seemed to be a very strong point in this episode. But that's my thoughts on Taisho Otome Fairy Tale. Definitely looking forward to more of this series. It's definitely a cute series so far. Again, didn't live up to a huge hype that I had in it, but everything here is laying out something that I think is going to be unique and probably special. So if you guys like this video, definitely leave a like down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of the episode, or if you're going to check it out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon if you can. We definitely appreciate everybody that does. And y'all take care.